Chris, I'm a little scared here today because it's a Wild Billy Wednesday, and I have been reporting Heat news all morning, and I haven't had time to know what was happening in the meeting. So can you get me caught? That's a bad set of ingredients, me not having no idea what's going on, and Billy's in charge today.
Well, you've been reporting. Nothing has come out. So you haven't been reporting. You've been asking. You've been poking around.
No, I've been doing the reporting so that I can report in a few minutes something that is Heat news. But what are you looking at me like that for, Jeremy?
What Heat news?
Well,
I can't wait until after the Shadow
doing the
Show.
Reporting.
Yeah,
but hasn't reported.
But what do I need to know about today's show? What do we have today?
What? Oh, my God. I have so much. It's the wildest of Billy Wednesdays. He has a cheese conundrum. Jess thinks Jimmy Butler's good. Amin wants to talk about Kyrie. There's just so much to talk about. I'm out on red foods. What? I mean, there's just
everything.
There's a ton to get to.
Like red, like coloring in foods, or
red
just
velvet?
Like an apple, a red apple. Can you eat an apple?
I'm not going to get to it all now. I'm just teasing the
topic.
topic.
We're going to tease it for later, but Amin and I were also working on a list of characters we most want to see die in White Lotus and least want to see die in White Lotus.
White Lotus has so many filler episodes.
The whole
way too many filler episodes. We can get to filler episodes later because,
burn, Billy.
how about we just do a 4-episode season where something happens every episode, not one where I'm just watching
you don't
the guy
appreciate the craft.
You don't think that?
No, I don't.
Happened?
I'm not. Look, I didn't come to a museum. I came to Max. I'm not here to watch art. I'm here to watch a show. Entertain me, Mike White, okay? I watched you on Amazing Race. Let's pick up the pace a little bit.
So we have that.
Character development. 2 words.
A 23
Develop
run inning
D's.
at college baseball.
Billy says Jeff Conine is Dwyane Wade.
I mean,
That's true. That's true. We'll get to that later, but that is a fact. Their career parallels are crazy.
Walk around shirtless a lot?
I watched the first 4 episodes of Paradise.
Oh, you in?
Dude, I'm so in.
Oh, can't wait to talk about this. Oh, my God. I've been waiting weeks for you people to learn what TV is.
Amin has thoughts on Mina Kimes.
Oh.
And Adrian Brody.
I know. He was texting me about that. It's nonsense what you said. I can't wait to get to that.
I can't believe you agreed with Trump on Pete Rose.
That too.
Yeah,
that was Dan, not me.
Yeah, that's one we can get into later if you'd like, Dan. Because that was fucking crazy.
Dan's
Jeremy's right.
Feverishly writing all of these down. He's like, this is good.
Around the horn. Sad day.
Oh, we knew that one, though, right?
I'm reporting, Amin. I'm not writing any of this shit down. We're not doing any of this.
Oh. Excuse me.
Just says you're not a journalist once, and all of a sudden, here we are reporting news.
1 day later, right?
I thought journalism died yesterday.
And finally, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner might get back together.
What?
Let's start the show.
Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls let it tell me I'm awesome. Yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch my please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We can't go out, man, forget my peace. You take the west, I'll take on the east. I'ma put him in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the prize. Not so tough, but man's keep walking, yeah. Just too sharp with the prize. Right guys, let it tell me I'm awesome, yeah. Hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
I mean, in my career covering the Miami Heat, I have never had so many people in an organization reach out to me from different pockets of the organization in order to have something clarified. Can you please play the sound of Dwyane Wade? And I don't know why Dwyane is doing this, and I don't know what the reaction to it has been anywhere, but this sound went viral last week on Dwyane Wade telling the story of when it was that LeBron James decided to leave Miami.
This was the first moment where I had an inkling that LeBron may not be back. One thing you don't do is with LeBron cookies. No. This is serious. Like, he loves chocolate chip cookies. Like chocolate chip cookies and ice cream he loves, right? And so when he gets on the plane, Brian walks on the plane with a bag of food. One bag is all cookies, and the other bags are what his chef has prepared for him to eat because he eats a certain way. He don't eat what's on the plane.
Yeah.
But he have his cookies. So we get on the plane and we play cards at the front of the plane. We play cards, and then at some point, Brian gonna be like, "Hey, bring me those cookies." And this one day, he was like, "Hey, where my cookies at?" And they had to come up there and whisper in his ear and tell him there were no more cookies on the plane.
Yeah.
That sat back away from the game. He pushed that cards back. He sat there quiet, doing his head like this. I was looking, I'm like, it was too much micromanaging at that point. Like, you're talking about a team who's 4 finals in a row.
Right.
You don't need to micromanage us.
I don't know what the truth is there. That may indeed be Dwyane Wade's truth. The Miami Heat could not more vigorously deny all of this. Dwyane Wade, that story is not true.
Wait, you just said, I don't know. I don't know what the truth is?
I am getting from too many different sources too much differing information from what it is that Dwyane Wade is alleging there.
There's more reporting than this, right? This is the reporting, Cookiegate.
Jeremy thought you were going to report that Pat Riley had cancer or something. Like he was freaking out back here.
I was panicking.
Jump to conclusions here.
We didn't say the C word. We just said, is Pat Riley okay?
Well, the C word's cookies. Dan reported that.
Well, that's one fact that's wrong. It was not cookies.
Oh, so it did happen, but it wasn't cookies?
It was ice cream.
He did say he loves his cookies and ice cream.
It was ice cream. It was not cookies. Pat wasn't the coach. He didn't travel, doesn't know what the food is on the flight. It was the nutritionist, not Pat. And this one.
It's not great leadership.
Everyone knows. This is what I was told. Everyone knows that Pat would have eaten those cookies himself because of how much he loves chocolate chip cookies. So the story just has no truth to it. So I ask you guys, what's happening there? Is Wade just making stuff up for the story? Didn't like the micromanaging and is making up a story? Or
I think he confused the cookies and the ice cream, right? This is a clear case of just forgetting which dessert that LeBron loved that was actually confiscated. The story remains the same. The Heat micromanaging LeBron James. But at the end of the day, there's a difference between cookies and ice cream.
Can we eradicate at the end of the day around here?
No. Look, at the end of the day, sometimes you need filler words.
This nutritionist needs to stand down.
You don't, though.
That nutritionist
Okay,
needs
we'll
to
jump
stand
on you
down.
every time you have filler words, Dan.
That is ridiculous.
You need filler. White Lotus, has shown us you just need filler sometimes. Get to 8 episodes. Let's throw in a 3 or 4. Nothing happens. Weird incest situation going on with White Lotus this season. Yeah, there is. I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know who's going to kill who.
There's a lot of filler in that show.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about the episodes being long sometimes.
Yikes. Judgy. Sergeant Semantics at work here, right? It wasn't cookies. That's a lie. Dwyane Wade, you're lying. It wasn't cookies. That never happened with cookies. Happened with ice cream. Like, come on, man.
No, the story didn't happen.
Oh, then why did we just spend that?
According to the Miami Heat, I don't know what's true there. You tell me what's true. I'm not a journalist anymore.
You just told me that it wasn't Pat Riley. It was the nutritionist, and it wasn't cookies. It was ice cream. And now you're saying it wasn't ice cream.
I'm telling you that it couldn't have been cookies. It could. The story, as it's told, could not have been cookies. It could not have been a cookie story, according to my sources. I've got more sources on this story than I've ever had on a story. It's confusing to me, the number of people who are reaching out and telling me that Dwyane Wade story, that didn't happen. That's not true.
So the extra detail isn't just, hey, the story didn't happen. It's, and if the story happened, it couldn't have been cookies. Yeah. It would have had to be ice cream.
And Pat Riley would have stolen him because everyone knows what a sweet tooth he had.
Okay, let me turn into big city lawyer here. Give me suspenders on. Now, you see, Dan Le Batard, you just told us that Pat Riley loves his cookies. But you also told us a moment ago that Pat Riley wasn't traveling with the team. So how could he have eaten the mystery cookies on the plane, Mr. Le Batard?
He would have if he had been on the plane. He wasn't on the plane.
Well, I don't know that a defense to murder is I would have killed this person if I had the chance to.
I am so out on this nutritionist. It's their fault that LeBron left.
So, Dan, put your name on it. Dwyane Wade's a liar. Say it. Report that.
No, you can put
Go
your
out
name
there.
on
No,
that.
I'm not doing any reporting. I tend to believe Dwyane Wade on this situation. I think that something happened here, and you're just coming out here saying a lot of people have reached out to me and said there's nothing to see here.
I don't
Move
know.
along. Dwyane Wade's full of it.
I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not true.
Well, it sounds like you picked a side on this one.
I'm reporting the other side. The one side has been told. The other side, from every crevice of the organization, is denying that story is true. You choose your truth. I'm giving you both truths. The Miami Heat believe that in this one instance, Dwyane Wade appears to be lying.
I think choose your truth is exactly why we're in a lot of the problems we're in.
Redirect, Your Honor. Dan Le Batard, what is the slogan of the Miami Heat?
I don't know what the slogan
They
is.
don't. You don't know what they pride themselves on.
Yeah,
what they sell
culture.
merchandise.
Yes, culture.
Culture.
Sorry.
How would you define culture? Would you find a lot of dissonance in culture, or would you find a lot of unanimity?
Unanimity. Yes.
Okay, so you are telling me that you have multiple sources from an organization that prides itself as speaking as one.
That's correct.
Curious.
Curious.
You are an excellent attorney, sir. I've fallen under your questioning.
The suspenders.
I'm curious, the rest of you, how it is that this is going to end in Miami. Like, what are your thoughts?
It's over already.
As Jimmy Butler is 9-1 at Golden State. They win in New York last night. Golden State looks great and doesn't need very much from Jimmy Butler to look great. And so in a 10-game sample, Jessica's fallen in love with Jimmy Butler because Jimmy Butler can now wreak vengeance on all of Miami and can be the winner of culture as the cult vigorously defends Pat Riley's right to eat whatever sugars he pleases.
Yeah, I really don't have a lot of skin in the game in the NBA, but
Just kicking us when we're down.
the Warriors winning a championship with Jimmy would be really, really, really funny.
Just to watch Jeremy.
I think it'd be kind of cool.
Oh, stop it.
No, I mean, it would be cool.
Oh,
watching Jimmy
the
get to
Laker-
play 30 games and then go on another 30-game run. Like, this is the perfect thing to get the maximum Jimmy Butler.
I was having a disagreement with Amin most of last season because it seemed obvious to me that the young people were going to take over the league. But the idea that the Lakers and Golden State could get back into the game with Steph and LeBron, get back into the game because their teams appear to be generally good and old, right? Because I don't know what you guys are. When you're watching these games, I mean, Luka and LeBron. Last night, they win by 20 against New Orleans. They make it look easy. Luka's not been efficient, and I haven't seen these particular numbers before. LeBron plays 34 minutes and is +7. Luka plays 33 minutes and is +37. I didn't watch the game, but I assume that when Luka was out there by himself without LeBron,
Yes.
the Lakers looked like the finals Mavs.
They looked a lot better, yes.
Without LeBron out there, correct?
Yes.
Because Luka's played nothing but inefficient games so far, and they've played low-scoring offensive games. But right now, I'm guessing, just from looking at box scores, because I'm not watching those games, I'm guessing they're still playing through LeBron, and Luka's trying to figure that out, correct?
Box score-wise, I'll tell you, Dan, to support your theory on Luka's dominance, Lakers have a pretty storied history. A lot of players done a lot of things. He's the first Lakers player ever to, in one game, score 30-plus points, dish out 15-plus assists, grab 5-plus rebounds, make 5-plus threes, and be plus 30 or better in the same game. Ever. In the history of the Lakers.
I was confused by the box score. I'm going to say it again. LeBron, 34 minutes, +7. Luka, 33 minutes, +37. Mm-hmm. Did it mean that when LeBron wasn't on the floor, Luka put up 30 straight points?
Well, no, he didn't put up 30 straight points, but the team performed at a more appreciating rate than when LeBron was out there with them.
Because Luka is a good deal better than LeBron.
No, I wouldn't go all the way.
At this stage in his career, Luka's a good deal better as an offensive player than LeBron. I mean that is no indictment of LeBron.
Right. I think it's when you talk about plus minuses, right? That's not necessarily especially raw plus minus. That's not a good metric for who's the better player. There's a ton of factors in there. Who was on the floor with you? Who was on the floor against you? And how you were used in those moments. But, yes, we can say that the team performed better in those non-LeBron minutes, which is a big thing because if you think about where the Lakers have struggled in the past, handful of years, same place where the Warriors had struggled, which is when LeBron or Steph are not on the floor, things go wrong. And now both of those teams have acquired someone who has essentially not only negated that negative, but turned it into a positive that's even greater than when those guys are on the floor.
You guys do realize, right, that the only way for drummed up storyline drama that the NBA needs to carry some momentum into crowning a champion that feels a little more fulfilling than Boston or Denver winning is LeBron and Steph getting back in the game. Actually making a run and making a 7-game series out of, no, we'd still like to have the league. I just don't think of either of those two teams as being anywhere near as good as what Oklahoma City is.
Well, Oklahoma City is the best team. They have no weaknesses. There are no – if this happens, then they could really – we're doing that with a lot of teams out there. Well, if they can get this out of so-and-so, with Oklahoma City, it's like, nope, we're ready. We've got it all. Everything you could ask for, bigs, guards, wings, three-point shooting, getting to the free throw line, defense, versatility. They have it all. Now, even experience, which was a thing last year where we said I don't think they're quite ready yet. Now they've got that as well. Cleveland, similarly, I think pretty much has everything answered there. Everyone else, we're doing some sort of mental gymnastic. Right now, as it stands, there's a high likelihood if the Lakers stay at 2 that they're going to play the Warriors in the first round, which would be 2 versus 7, assuming the Warriors get out of the play-in. The only way that could get mixed around is if either the Lakers fall to 3 or if the Warriors end up being the 8th seed instead of the 7th seed, in which case they'd have to play the Thunder in the first round.
But I want to get into the Jimmy Butler of it with you guys because Golden State went from being something that was middling, was around 500.
Below middling.
Steph obviously needed help to obviously an injection of something that has made them 9-1. And Karl Anthony Towns didn't play last night, so and New York was at 100-something. Like that's not that offensive team. Mitchell Robinson is back. Like the Knicks are formidable, and they will be a different team in the playoffs when they are healthy. But you're seeing what from Golden State? You're seeing something that when we talk about teams being ready, young teams being ready, historically, something like Golden State is exactly the kind of thing that knocks off a young team expected to win a championship that hasn't played in any Game 7s that any of us have thought about. Like the team that gets knocked off there is run by people like Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, who have played in 400 of these.
You play against the old caged lion, the old cornered tiger, right? And it's got one tooth and it's all scraggly, but then you get in its reach and it gets you by the neck. And that's what absolutely the Warriors, and to an extent the Lakers are as well, is that, in the regular season, Dan, a lot of people make big deal about your regular season. What was your net rating? What was your offensive rating? But the reality is that's built off of the corpses of a ton of bad teams. Like everyone's got it. Every good stat you see from any team, a lot of it is built on, we beat up on the bad teams. When you get to the playoffs, there are two things that happen. Number one, there are no more bad teams for the most part. Number two is during the regular season, we're going from game to game and changing game plans. Basically, like once we're done with the Knicks game, boom, we're done. We're thinking about the Bucks tomorrow. And there is a kind of a transience of our attention span. But when we get to the playoffs, everybody in the organization, players, coaches, scouts, we're all just worried about you. You're our opponent. And so what ends up happening is things that happen in the regular season don't really matter as much. All that matters is can you counter and can you continue to adjust? A great example of this was however long ago it was, Oklahoma City versus Portland. Oklahoma City had beaten the Blazers 3 times out of 4 times in the regular season. And so conventional wisdom say, OKC, higher seed. OKC had beaten Portland 3 out of 4 times. They're going to win. But Portland matched up great, and that was the Damian Lillard Wade bye-bye series because the matchups and because the lack of adjustments Oklahoma City made. So similarly, when you talk about what's going to befell maybe the Cavs or maybe the Thunder, it would probably be a team like this. Like it's the meme of the old man and say, call an ambulance, but not for me. That's exactly what the Warriors are.
What's Walton Goggins' deal this episode? Like, we don't really know what's going on. He needs to get to Bangkok for some reason. He's interested in, like, the owner of the hotel, but it seems like he's more interested in the owner of the hotel's husband, potentially.
But who is the husband? I think they're trying to make you think that the husband perhaps is involved in
Greg's
his
Gary
deceased
now.
father's death.
For sure.
There's a lot going on. Oh, is that what it is?
So how interested are you in the fan
Wow.
theories? Because
I haven't looked into any of them yet, which is maybe why I'm so confused, but those will probably confuse me even more.
Yeah,
Then
I'm
we're
like-
just releasing snakes.
Like, what's up with the snakes?
The
I can't
snake
figure
was-
out if his
he was-
girlfriend's teeth are real or fake.
They are
They're
real,
real.
and they're
Are they?
spectacular. Yes.
A bit distracting at times.
She's amazing.
She's been great, but there's
I
a lot
loved in the
going on
first
this
episode
season.
when the one woman was like, "I love your teeth."
Yeah, I
And she's
couldn't
like,
believe
"Thanks."
it. I couldn't
It was
believe
so
that.
good. I love
Anyway,
that.
so Goggins, you think that the husband?
Well, there's a lot of theories.
Mm.
Perhaps the husband is a nemesis of some sort, and he's
Mm.
seeking revenge. Perhaps her husband is his father that he thought was dead his whole life.
That's what I think it is.
Perhaps none of the above, because sometimes the show gives you 10 red herrings, and then none of them really end up mattering, and then something completely different happens by the end of the
There's
season.
a whole will they, won't they with the massage therapist too that's going on there.
Lots
will
of-
they? Dan,
lots of tension.
Dan,
That-
can I put it on? Juju, can we put it on the poll? Will they?
That little friend group, by the way. Lots of knives. Lots of knives in the friend
writing.
group.
Oh, they hate each other.
They hate each other.
They really
Hate
do,
each
but they
other.
think that they love each other.
They don't.
But they're
They
realizing,
don't.
ooh, do we have anything in common?
Honestly,
Not really.
probably the most relatable relationship on this show, I think. Right?
Yeah, I've seen a
We
lot
can
of
all-
people say
sad,
that.
sad admission. I think we can almost relate to that group, right?
Right, like you have friends
Yeah.
that you don't see that much. You all have your own lives. You all live in different places.
And
You've
you
all
hate
kind of
them
gone
all,
your own way. And then you're
really.
like, we need to do a girls' trip. And then you all do a girls' trip one year. And then you're like, oh my God, I actually don't really
Yeah,
like
I
you
hate
that
all
much.
these people,
We've,
yeah.
we've grown apart.
I relate more to Walton Goggins. I want to release snakes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out, like, because, I mean, we know because of the way that the first episode starts, right, that someone comes in and there's just, like, a mass shooting is what it seems like is going on,
Or
right?
some sort of
During meditation and yoga, someone is shooting a gun, and then I think doesn't a body float through, and that's where the episode starts.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Well, no,
if you're
that's
familiar,
Opening
it's the
scene.
first scene. If you're familiar with the show at all, the opening scene of the first episode of each season, a dead body floats somewhere, or there's like a reveal that someone has died. In the first season,
Yeah.
it was, there's a body going on the plane, and then the whole season you're like, who's the dead body
Good
leaving
season.
the island? So you're wondering the whole time who it is, and then they just throw all these characters at you for like 8 episodes, and then the last episode, there's finally something happens. To Billy's point, there's a lot. It's a slow burn.
That robbery is going to be connected to something down the road, 100%.
I think it was a hoax.
Really?
Yeah.
Inside job.
Yeah, no, it's something. It's
By
one of the red
who?
herrings.
Setup.
Yeah.
The security guards?
Perhaps one of the employees who was distracting
That's
the
right.
security guard was in on it, or perhaps the woman who was in the changing room, who is in a relationship
woman
with
of the
Greg
night.
/ Gary.
Yeah.
Maybe she's in on it. Perhaps.
They're in a real relationship.
That's
She's
interesting.
French
Well, Goggins,
from Canada.
Goggins was like, she's obviously an escort, and his girlfriend was like, no, they're in love.
She's the best character, right? Goggins' girlfriend.
She's the best.
Yeah.
She's number one on my list of people I least want to see die.
Ooh, what if the dad, dad that now we see in the preview for the next episode, spoiler alert, is going to be like addicted to pills, his wife's pills, which he keeps saying no to, but then he's going behind her back and
You know,
taking
you know what I
anyways.
call him? Kenny Wynn's business partner. I remember Kenny Wynn's name. I have no idea what his name
Yeah,
is.
that Kenny Wynn situation.
I call him
be
Malfoy
dicey,
because
huh?
he's Malfoy. He's
Dude,
Lucius Malfoy.
I don't want to give Kenny Wynn's business partner any advice, but like the solution is don't go home. You're fine, dude.
Exactly,
You're good.
you're in Thailand.
You
Well,
got away with it.
hold
Just
on,
stay there. Stay on
Billy.
vacation forever.
I have another fan theory.
Be like
for
Gary
you.
Gregg.
I have another theory for you that I saw. There's no spoilers in this because we don't know what's going to happen yet. We're only in episode 3.
Yeah.
But, however,
And nothing happened. Episode
Nothing
3.
is- nothing ever
Nothing
happens
ever
until
happened.
the
The guy
last
goes
episode.
out. He makes secret phone calls. That's the whole show so far.
he's embroiled in some
The
sort of
siblings
money.
maybe have a thing
money
going on there.
laundering-
We see
money laundering
Schwarzenegger's
scheme.
like top of his wiener.
Yeah, he's number one on the list
on.
of characters I most want to see
Dude,
die.
he's a weirdo.
And
He
he's
can go.
also he's also 2 through 5.
Here's the thing about him. I'm sorry to
No,
cut
no,
you
go
off, but
ahead.
here's the thing about him. I saw a video.
Saxon.
how proud he was, like, to get the role, and he was like telling his mom and his sister, like, I got the role, and they're like all crying and so happy,
And then
like
he found out what the role was, and he was like, ugh.
no, and then like
Goggins?
you see the
No,
top of his
Saxon.
wiener in the first episode, and like if I'm in a show and you're seeing the top of my wiener in the first episode, the last thing I'm doing is telling my mom and my sister come and tune in. You know what
Also,
I mean?
Mike White must be a basketball fan or just interested in sports in some way, because he made them all Duke people, and it's very unflattering.
No, and then Carolina.
Except for Parker Posey,
Yeah.
who's a Carolina fan. Anyways, I
yeah,
digress.
back to you.
The theory was in the first episode, she mentions that they normally vacation the Caribbean, but this year they went to Thailand, and so perhaps she's aware that her husband's into financial crimes, and she's already stowed their money away in the Cayman Islands on previous vacations, and now they're going to be staying abroad because they can't get extradited from Thailand? Question mark.
The daughter that's there to kind of do like the book report or whatever,
Yeah.
she seems like the only pure character on the show, right?
Yeah, her and
you
Amy
think they're
Lou Wood.
skeletons?
That's the concern, right?
You think there's skeletons there,
has
though?
to be. There has to be a twist
the
with her.
security guard who got hit on the head. He's the
Nah.
purest guy. No, why not?
Yeah, he's a sweetheart.
I feel so bad.
Maybe
for
he's
him.
Goggins'
Something
dad.
bad. Or Belinda. I like Belinda too.
Belinda's always pure.
Which one's Belinda?
Belinda's the one who's
the good
Tanya's
witch.
masseuse in the first
Yeah.
season.
I just want to point out that before Dan claims he's doing reporting, journalism, taking notes, he was just furiously scribbling on his paper the whole time.
Yeah. Well, there's cookies to report on, so.
I was getting
cream.
more heat information there. I also just wanted to
It was
get
Rocky Road.
my names right on what it is that we're referring to. Escort, sex worker, and Amin's choice was a woman of the night, which I have not heard since my father was trying to explain it to me as a child. I was, 41 years old. And my father...
Be on a fly on a wall for that conversation.
My father said a lady of the night, and I didn't know what it meant. I didn't understand. I was too young to understand. Does anyone still refer to it the way that Amin just did?
They're just whores.
No, they're not.
A woman of the night.
I agree with you. I mean, they use the word escort in the show, which is why I said escort. But I think sex worker is what people say.
Well, most people say
Bane was out of line.
hookers.
Definitely don't say woman of the night.
Hookers is what.
Really? That's bad?
Well, but I had not heard it, but I had not heard it since my father said it, and Amin's aging caught me a bit off guard.
Oh
there.
no! Let's be clear. I don't call them women of the night. I think it's a funny way to euphemism the term.
So, like, they're not trollops because trollops
No.
just do the work for free,
Yes,
correct?
yes, exactly.
Okay.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about the derailment is I was, and I got to think the audience is going to side with me here. Your cynicisms about three old friends getting together and hating each other and that being relatable cannot be the experience of old friends everywhere.
Oh, Dan, your naivete is so cute.
It can't be the experience of old friends everywhere. Am I wrong about
100%
this?
is.
Just women.
I just watched it happen to
Okay.
people in my family.
Backtrack on
Also,
that one.
what?
Just women.
No.
No, I think.
No, Amin.
I think it's. Have you never lost a friendship over your life because you've grown apart from
Of
someone?
course.
I
No,
think that's
no, but
what's
I wouldn't go
relatable.
on a trip with those people. Like, I wouldn't
I think these
discover that
people-
on a trip.
Right. I think these people are very wealthy and they're in denial that they aren't friends anymore, or at least don't have anything in common anymore. And they're also, again, very wealthy, so they can afford this, all-inclusive
But
trip to Thailand.
I would
together.
never go on a trip with anyone I considered a good friend who I have outgrown.
But
That-
Dan, you're saying that as someone who knows you've outgrown certain people. Imagine a friend group. You guys live in different places, so you don't see each other all the time. But you're in a group text, so you're always talking and all the time. You're like, "Hey, we were best of friends once upon a time." But because we're apart, we don't have those social in-person experiences. We are growing apart. So one of the friends is going to church. It might be MAGA, right? One of the friends is a Hollywood actress, and she's having a great time. And the other one is going through a divorce, right? And so we're in contact all the time. Of course, we're friends. But because we haven't spent that time together, restaurants and bars and all those things, we're growing apart. So we're like, we should rekindle it. We haven't hung out in so long together. Guess what? We're going to Thailand. And then you go, and as you're talking, you begin to notice things, right? You notice things, and / you've had opinions that you've kept to yourself because it was in the group chat. You didn't want to put in the group chat like, yo, your husband left you because of this. And yo, since you went to Hollywood, you think you're different. And yo, you're MAGA now.
old age, I thought, was at least in part something with friendship that you discard them along the way until you've only got the ones you want to travel with later in life. Like that's what old friends are, I thought.
But those are friends since seemingly it looks like middle school, high school age. Yeah. They've grown up together. They've gone on to live their own individual wealthy lives. And maybe the last time they got together 5-6 years ago, things were a little different in what their lives were and in what the lives of everyone was. And now, 5 or 6 years later, some things have changed and opinions have changed. And now you don't have those friends,
what
Jeremy.
The other thing, Dan, is I don't think they're old. We did this old. They're not old people.
They're younger than you.
They're younger than me. They are like these are women. I
don't know how old you are, but yeah,
probably in their late 30s. So old enough to that there's been time apart from one another, but not quite old like to the point where you're saying, well, look, I've excommunicated all the people I don't want in my life.
Late 30s struck me as old friends. Like if you've had friends into your late 30s, you've had friends for a long time. I don't know that.
I mean, it depends when you met them. Like if they're from childhood into the 30s, they've been friends, essentially their entire lives.
Look, Billy, I can't even imagine who you'd travel with, but I
wouldn't travel to Thailand with my family. Like I'm not getting on a flight that long. Get out of here. You're crazy.
So you are of this age, and if I said Billy went to Thailand with some old friends,
if I go to Thailand, I committed crimes.
That means Kenny Wynn is in business with Billy.
If I'm in Thailand, find my Kenny Wynn.
All right, so
you'll never see me again.
You're simply not going to entertain.
I'll be Bobby.
The hypothetical.
I'm going to pull out the Greg Gary situation. Right. Yes, and Dan, I'm here for you.
Yes, I don't want you here.
No one wants to be my friend. I
Chris
get it.
Cody, if you were to go on a trip to Thailand,
yes,
with some friends right now, those people, what are the chances that you would look across at any of them and be so distant from knowing that person that you would learn on that trip that you had outgrown that person?
It's funny because I just met up with a friend in Germany, in Epcot, that I hadn't seen in a long time. And we hit it right off. It was like we never missed a day, honestly. One of my oldest friends, he now lives in the Orlando area. And it was great. We had like 6 hours together. Our family, our daughters were running together. It was like the highlight of the trip.
Yeah, but 6 hours is different than what these women are doing.
That's true.
So he was just in Germany.
It was in Germany, Italy. We saw the world, actually. Yeah.
I don't understand what part of this you can't relate to.
Oh, it's not even that I can't relate to it. I just disagree with your universal consensus of we all agree, right, that if old friends do this, this is totally relatable. And I'm just like, is it?
I mean, it was partially for joke, but like that's real life. What? Like people's friends like move away. Not everybody lives in the same city forever, and you don't like as life goes on and their careers advance and the families grow and whatever, you don't stay in touch with them as often as you did. And sometimes you just say, you know what, it's been 10 years. Like, let's hang out to rekindle the old times. And then you find out like, wow, everybody's life has changed a lot, and I don't know if these are the same people that I was friends with. We're not in college
anymore, where it's easy. You just live down the street from a bunch of people that are your age, and it's just you don't like you commiserate over chemistry class. Like life's happened.
Do we avoid politics? Yes, but
that's the other.
We make it through.
That's the other thing. There's a lot of times where you're like, I don't even want to risk knowing what the politics
Let's
are.
talk about nothing.
Yeah.
And just make jokes from 15 years ago so we leave this all having a good time. I want to know as little about you as possible right now.
You know who else has grown apart? Dan in journalism. You walked in here eager to break heat news. And all it was the mildest of corrections over a podcast episode that, quite frankly, as someone who works in basketball, that one escaped me because I don't think it really made waves like that.
No.
Nobody cares about the story.
Tread lightly on this one, I'm telling you, because this is Dan's MO. He's going to drop a bomb with like a minute left in the segment. Like he started out with the cookies so that you do this, and then you say something silly or stupid, and then boom, egg on your face because he drops the real news right as the hour is about to end. And then you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you let me put my foot in my mouth and say that. And then he's like, reporting, jazz hands. And then it's like some big thing. Just be careful. We've been down this road before.
Journalism died.
It would be amazing if I then did Jeremy's dark report at the end, like, hey, how great is that?
Let's make it abundantly clear, not my dark report, just my fear.
There's time. 4 minutes still.
No, but I actually came in here wanting to talk about. I actually wanted to come talk about the mortality of Jimmy Johnson and Pat Riley.
They're both.
You understand our thinking then, right? Because we were prompted with that, and we're like, we're gonna do this, and then you're like, hold on, I've been doing a lot of reporting this morning, and I want to do a big mortality episode. I'm like, okay, well, someone's dying.
I whispered into Billy's ear, "You're right. You're right."
That was an off-air hypothesis of mine that I've been working on for a little bit.
But it would be in poor form if the punchline at the end of this was the reported news that somebody we care about is sick. I am not going to do that. What is happening
This is
right
insane.
now? No,
But you would do
This
that.
is even worse.
I would not do that. That is untrue.
Dan, this happened once before.
Martin Schottenheimer?
No, the day that his brother passed, he was in here joking with us the entire morning, like if nothing was wrong, and then just did it on air. And we're like, what? Yeah, we were like joking around in the kitchen, and we felt terrible, obviously. So that's why we're all treading lightly, because we're like, we don't know how this segment's going to end.
Well, but you're going to be disappointed either way now.
Well, I'm never going to be disappointed if someone's staying alive.
No, but you're going to be disappointed because it's not going to be this heat news that you crave of somebody important dying.
I don't want that news, is what I'm telling
Well,
you.
but
That's
it's
not what I want.
so-
But I know your tricks.
No,
I know your tricks, old dog.
You evidently don't know my tricks.
Now you're holding off until tomorrow. I know these tricks. You're hoping that these people stay alive long enough to not be found out.
Please stop this music. I'm not going to report that anyone is dying or that anyone is sick. And now I'm not going to report anything at the end of this segment. I'm going to try and regather myself because this is all taking a dark turn. That White Lotus, Sunday nights on Max. We are talking. Can you guys do a show with me instead of against me? Like
you don't want this show.
No,
Dan.
I want the joke that Billy made in your ear. If it's gonna distract me, if you're gonna do that, okay? If you're gonna break character, look. The last time you guys did this is the single best joke in the history of this show. If you had made it,
No.
the last time this happened was while Jessica was fishing, and it's the. I wish that joke that you told Amin that made him break character then had been said on the air.
This one's way, way, way more radioactive.
This one's worse than that one?
This one was told to me by someone else, and I was like, I'm not doing that. So I gave it to Amin to see if he would do it.
Okay, but it can't distract me when I'm in the middle of talking about my mentors in this business in coaching and mortality. Like, it can't be that. It can't be so loose on Wild Billy Wednesdays that the joke you make in Amin's ear distracts me while I'm talking about the possible death of people.
Well, Dan, I think we took a negative turn here. Maybe it could be something positive that you want to break for us.
Ice cream had sprinkles.
Oh, my God.
Is it a wedding?
That's so beautiful. They're going to renew their vows. Chris and Pat. Right? That's her name, Chris?
Ron and Rhonda.
Ron and Rhonda, too, yes. Dan and Valerie.
Would
Chris-
you do a vow
Chris and
renewal, Dan?
Christine.
Spo and Bam.
I saw that Jessica accused me of being the most likely in our group to do a vow renewal. That's probably true.
Jessica is?
Well,
She has to do the vows first.
Dan was the most likely.
Oh.
And it wasn't an accusation if it's just a suggestion. Like, yeah, I think.
No, I think you got. I think
Made it sound like a bad thing.
I'm guessing a group of people who would say that their spouse isn't their best friend because that's always a lie, that your spouse is your best friend. I would assume that group of people would think renewed vows is corny.
Vows, too.
That it's a corny thing, I would think. No?
I think it's corny. I mean, I might feel differently later, down the road.
I think vows seems like one of the stops on the train track to divorce, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, this is the last,
the
last
opposite.
gasp.
I would think it's the opposite of that.
You gotta save it.
The only person I ever knew to renew their vows was my grandparents at their 50th wedding anniversary. And at that point, it was way too late to get divorced.
I think celebrating your love is beautiful, Dan, but you don't really want me on your side.
Well, no, you're a romantic.
I am.
I am a romantic as well. But what is that on the poll? Renewed vows on the train track
It's one of the
to
stops
divorce?
on the train track to divorce.
Are renewed vows are renewed vows one of the stops on the freight train?
Terrible train track.
The question was, Dan, if you had to choose, which one's got to go, Pat Riley or Jimmy Johnson?
Oh!
Greetings to all. Welcome to 2022. Omicron is on the run, and away it went. But oops, there goes gravity, and here comes a new variant. Omaha, Corona, Hut 1, Hut 2, nothing infects the Super Bowl, and nothing stops football.
Racism, greed, trauma to brain and spine. And yet, I cannot look away. Heroes are dead. Science has their heads. Oh, is there no escape from here? I need to know. It eats my soul. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's human cockfighting. CTE, prayer circles. They blackballed the black baller. They tried to end racism by stenciling it in the end zone. Billionaire boys using millionaires as toys. It's all immoral, all unethical. Ooh, the witching hour. Nothing stops the NFL. Is this heaven or hell? I can't tell. It's Urban and Snyder and Flores and Gruden, but Kyler, but Kelsey, but Cooper, but Canty. It's cheating and tanking and bounties and banking
Hey, Le Batard fans. I'm Roz Goldonwoode, and this week on Good Follow Show, we have an exclusive sit-down, one-on-one interview with Brittany Sykes, WNBA veteran of the Mystics and an Unrivaled. She's on Team Rose. We talk about all the things. And there's so much basketball popping off right now. Unrivaled playoffs are on the way. We talk about it. Athletes Unlimited, they crowned a champion. In college hoops, we're talking conference championships. March Madness is here. Also, Caitlin Clark. The Caitlin Clark effect is still happening. It's continuing. It's real. And on the soccer side, we take a look at the NWSL. They just dropped their new kits, and we look at who's got the heat. So all this and more on Good Follow Show. We drop every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern on DraftKings Network, on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Come tap in with us. We got you.
I cannot believe the number of people who just climbed into my ears and said, hey, we requested promos for Nothing Personal from David Samson and his team, and still have received nothing from David Samson, who came on last week complaining that Meadowlark doesn't support anything that he does. David, how do you defend yourself? Because I've got both rooms shouting in my ear that you sent nothing.
Yeah, I just think with a few weeks left in any sort of deal, there's no reason to start promos after 2 years of being with you. That's all. Too little, too late.
Oh, so your contract's up and you don't want
Well,
promos?
I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just saying that the promo that you asked for, I'd like. It's all good. That's how you're leading the segment?
You just talked about it.
Why don't we talk about what a great promo it was that Good Follow just had and encourage people to watch Good Follow and engage with it and stop pointing out the things that aren't done by Meadowlark or by me and things that are done we should focus on, like how great Good Follow is.
In David and Coca's defense, I will say, for the most part, the promos are done for shows that are done like once or twice weekly. David's is a daily show, so by the time he cuts a promo for the show's already out. And the next day, it wouldn't be useful anymore, so... Unless you want to say, hey, go check out my episode from last Wednesday. We talked about, the basketball games from the night before. I don't know that it really would serve David very much.
It could also just be an evergreen sell of the show, I think.
Yeah. Is David leaving?
When is your contract
He
up?
hinted at that.
I'm still looking for graphics help. So the answer is I don't know. I just know that when you asked me to join, it was for 2 years, and the 2 years is up this month. So this is your opportunity to get rid of me permanently.
Are you coveted?
I guess you'll just have to figure that out. If you do like Nothing Personal when you listen?
Yeah, Nothing Personal is great. I say it all the time. I just didn't know that your contract was up. You threw that at us.
I don't expect. The irony of you not knowing that, it's obvious why you don't know that, because when I ask you to engage in conversations, because you're the one I have to talk to, it's all good.
No, I'm not the one. I am not
this
the
is
one.
not something we should be talking about.
I am not the one you want to be talking to about.
Jess is handling your negotiations, David.
There is. I'm not laughing because Jess couldn't. I'm laughing because Jess isn't. I'm simply laughing that we have so much to go over right now in the world of sports business and interesting things to talk about. That
David, I'm hiring you to a lifetime contract.
I appreciate that. And I think you're doing that because you know how old I am and how short term that would be.
No, you're my favorite.
Thank you, Amin.
There you go.
Promo. Last week on the show, we didn't talk about this nearly enough. You thought that as you aged, you would not get any shorter, you would get taller. Like I still don't understand. Like,
I have a follow-up, Dan, because it is true that I have a direct line to my doctor. And after last week, I was so despondent that I did call the doctor to talk about this because I wanted to understand what I was in for. I don't like surprises at all. And it was told to me that short people shrink less, and I am in position where there could be a lack of shrinkage.
But they shrink. You thought they would grow. The short people also shrink. Nobody with age grows after a certain age.
You do have less to shrink. No one's disputing that.
This is an accomplished doctor. This is not like a Cracker Jacks box, Holiday Inn Express type of thing. This is a famous doctor who said that the chance of me shrinking is de minimis.
You go to McGillicuddy too?
Look at me, Louie, because I have a doctor.
Famous doctor.
Does a famous doctor make you a better doctor?
Ask Dr. Phil or Dr. Oz.
Well, those are not the type. Hold on. Those are different doctors. That's not the type of doctor. Now, I do see and pay attention and talk to doctors like that from time to time every Wednesday at 6 p.m., but that is not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to a medical doctor, a cardiologist, because I do have a 32% issue that he did tell me about on the call when he told me I didn't have shrinkage. He said, I've got some other things that we have to deal with. Not ideal. If I were you, I would not look at me long term.
Is that what you were going to report in the first
long-term.
part, Dan? Is he the one that's sick?
I mean, this is the wrong president we thought was dying.
Jessica, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. There were 3 other jokes being made between just Billy and Amin, on and off air. Can you tell me, please, David, because I wanted to talk to you about something they mentioned during the Shadow Show earlier. Jessica and Jeremy disagreed with what it is that we had to say earlier in the week about Pete Rose. I don't know what your take is on Pete Rose, David, and the Hall of Fame, and Manfred now considering it and being in a position where Donald Trump is pardoning Pete Rose posthumously.
Well, first, let's talk about the pardon of Pete Rose by Donald Trump. The only thing he can pardon him for is for his conviction of the federal crime of tax evasion, for which he served a 5-month sentence. He actually served 5 months. You can do a posthumous pardon of that. You can wipe the slate clean. You can do anything you want when it comes to a federal crime if you're the president. The president has zero say, zero, in terms of eligibility for the Hall of Fame. What the president can do is threaten baseball with a couple of ditties. And what I talked about is the 2 ditties that Trump has is the owner's tax loophole, which they use, that we've talked about on this show, where when you buy a team, you get to depreciate the assets of that team, which just means you get a tax break for 5 years. And Trump is threatening to close that tax break. That's a big one. And the second one is the antitrust exemption. He could threaten to take that away. But all he can do is threaten to do it if you don't reinstate Pete Rose. But even Trump may know that reinstating Pete Rose does not, therefore, put him into the Hall of Fame. It makes him eligible.
I'm sorry. If I already served the time, please don't wipe my slate clean. Especially after I die. That does nothing for me or my family.
Well, that was kind of part of my question, was what are you pardoning him from? Is it the potential child sex crimes that have been reported? Because that's the thing here. Like, we as a show, we're all sort of gung-ho about, like, you know what? Here's another thing to agree with Donald Trump about. Let's get Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. That guy sucks. He's a terrible human being. Who passed? He was. He's dead. And I don't know why we have to relitigate it now as if this is some big culture war that we need to get to. Oh, no, Pete Rose is injustice. I wonder why Donald Trump thinks that a guy like Pete Rose, who served time for tax evasion, needs to be thrown back into the public sphere as some hero and have his reputation, brought back into everything. It's crazy because John Dowd is the guy who reported all of this about Pete Rose.
The former guy
from MVP Baseball 2005. Yeah, that John Dowd. Really? No, John Dowd, the lawyer, was the one who went after him. And if you think for some reason that the only reason I'm going after Pete Rose is because of a relationship with Donald Trump, well, let me tell you, John Dowd is the lawyer who defended Donald Trump in the Russia probe from 2017 to 18. And I shit you not, the other lawyer that he decided to bring on was a guy named Ty Cobb. More baseball for you.
Wait,
it's pretty unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah, John Dowd hired Ty Cobb to defend
alive?
Donald Trump. Not that Ty Cobb.
Oh, okay.
A different lawyer. It's just unbelievable that we would even spend any amount of time arguing that Pete Rose, that guy, deserves an opportunity to go to the Hall of Fame. When it's a thing about character, they even talk about it. What are we doing?
And that was Jeremy's woke take of the week.
Dan wanted to make a posthumously joke on Monday, and that was how he was able to fit it in.
Good. Speaking of that Russia probe, Ukraine shit, that's crazy, huh?
As soon as Dan gets the reins back to the show, we can possibly continue to talk about the issue with Pete Rose was talked about with the commissioner 10 years ago before he became commissioner, and whether or not, as part of becoming commissioner, should we take Pete Rose off the permanently ineligible list and give the writers an opportunity to decide what to do with him. And the decision was made at the time, no, we're going to stay with what Giamatti decided and what Selig has enforced and been passionate about. And then the gambling money came into sports in a very direct way, and it became clear that there had to be a third rail. And the third rail is not everything you described at all, Jeremy. The third rail is the betting on baseball. That is the reason why there has not been any thought to take him off the permanently ineligible list, and I think it would be a very bad move for baseball to take him off that list even after he's croaked, because I don't want anyone to think that betting on a sport that you are playing in, even to win, is a good idea.
I agree with you, David. There's already plenty of reason to keep him out, and then there's also all of that horrible shit about him as a human being.
But Jeremy, again, you have to look at the Hall of Fame, and there are decisions that writers make. Dan, you can ask Dan. He was one of the lucky few who had a ballot to vote people into the Hall of Fame, and I'm not sure what percentage character played in his voting process.
No, not at all. I gave up my vote for that very reason, because the moralizing about a museum bothered me. But Jeremy is talking about real and legitimate sex crimes that Pete Rose went to the grave, never suffering consequences for, and he was a horrible person, and that has nothing to do with any of the things that we're talking about here. But
it has everything to do with it, right? Because if reputationally we're talking about pardoning this man for all of the things that we're having this negative skew about him publicly for, it's important to have the whole context of the man who is no longer here. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it.
I hear you, Jeremy. On the other hand, remember how he used to run to first base?
Oh, and he would slide and his helmet would fly
Charlie
off.
Jeremy's back.
Oh, the hustle. Dirt on the uniform.
So which is it, David? Nothing to do or everything to do? Because Jeremy just agreed with me and then took the polar opposite position.
I can't figure out, frankly, and I'm trying very hard to listen as everyone talks at once, what Jeremy's point is, because I know he knows that a presidential pardon has nothing to do with any crimes that have not been charged to Pete Rose or his character flaws or his gambling. The pardon, as defined, the power of the pardon is for federal crimes.
That's right. Look, he already served his time for the federal crimes. So my question was like, what are we really pardoning for? And that was a sarcastic question because
Jeremy,
this show
pardons
agreed
happen
with Trump.
all the time.
I understand that pardons
Pardons
happen
all the time for people who've served their time already. That is a very common use of presidential pardons because it does wipe your slate clean. So, for example, have you ever been convicted of a felon? You actually get to say no.
And my question would be, is why are we doing that for Pete Rose? What does that have to do with anything or anyone? And why are we calling for MLB to get off their, quote, fat, lazy ass and do something about it? It's insane, David. We don't have to we agree on this, right? This isn't that crazy what I'm saying. It's not that crazy to say we shouldn't agree with Trump on pardoning Pete Rose because that guy sucks. What's so complicated?
You have to go through the pardon list of everyone who gets pardoned by every president in order to have the position you're taking.
No, you don't. You don't just have that position because he is a baseball fan.
Yeah. I'm allowed to not like Pete Rose and think he shouldn't be pardoned for those
I take
crimes.
it back. You may have any position you want. That's the beautiful part of what is and could potentially be in the future our country.
Well, not on college campuses because they're going to pull off federal funding if you protest on a college campus. Anyway, Dan, back to you.
Thank you, guys.
Jeremy.
David, can you explain to me why I heard on Nothing Personal that you were at a bar mitzvah with Saquon Barkley?
I was. So this is a true story. I was at a bar mitzvah where all of a sudden a special guest was introduced, and the special guest was Saquon Barkley, who was there prior to signing his deal that made him the highest paid running back ever. And he is now, having spent 1 hour with about 120 12 and 13-year-old boys and girls at a bar mitzvah who were better behaved than the adults at the bar mitzvah, who were elbowing the kids out of the way to ask Saquon to do the hurdle. And you can see the way he was dressed, which was in a nice puffer jacket. And he was dressed very nicely, actually. He wasn't going to do the hurdle. And part of the deal of Saquon coming was, hey, I'm here for the kids, not the adults. And the adults were a bunch of babies. They were out of their minds. And we got Saquon to autograph a couple of things, including Super Bowl hats. And so Saquon autographed them, and they were for the kids only.
Wait a minute. So the adults were very poorly behaved, you not being one of them, but you took pictures with him and asked him for his autograph.
I'm just saying that the adults in general were poorly behaved, and I had the opportunity to meet him and be helpful in this project of having Saquon Barkley attend the bar mitzvah, and therefore I was able to secure a chapeau.
Did you get the indication from Saquon's participation that had he signed his contract the day before, he would have still done said bar mitzvah appearance?
He is so good, Billy. I've done so many appearances with athletes in my career. He's one of the best, most interesting, friendly, well-natured athlete I've been around. He was so pleasant and good. He was there with his fiancée and a great friend of his, and there was just nothing bad to report. And there was breaking news that happened while we were together, and that was the Deebo Samuel trade. It broke Saturday night while we were in the green room waiting for the appearance to happen. And his reaction to the trade fascinated me because at first I presented it in a funny way. Hey, breaking news, Saquon, Deebo Samuel's been traded. And he said, to the Eagles? And I said, what's the worst case scenario? Because that's where he was traded. And he said, NFC East? And I said, Commanders. And he said, at least it's not Myles Garrett. So it is true that he was thinking about his sort of health and safety and Myles Garrett being a bigger issue, but he acknowledged that getting firepower around a young quarterback is a smart way to get better if you are a football team. But he certainly is looking forward to trying to defend their Super Bowl title because he doesn't want to. He wants to have to pay Pat Riley.
You just mentioned a green room. Were you like a guest of honor as well? Like, why would you be in the green room with him?
So I was sort of the coordinator of the event.
Okay.
Of the time with Saquon. I was helpful in trying to get that accomplished.
All right. Well, now I want more details.
You kind of sound like a pimp.
All right. Now, coordinator.
There was no sex in the green room.
Well, there's green in the green room, but there is no sex in the green room.
There is that now. If you're a rock star on tour, I would say that there could be sex in the green room or in the after show. But in this case, no, this was a green room at a bar mitzvah at a venue. So the detail is that I was asked to help foment an appearance by a football player. And the thought was that the bar mitzvah boy's favorite player was Saquon Barkley. And would I have any ability to help bring Saquon Barkley to this child's bar mitzvah? And the answer is, of course I could. I did. And it was about a 5-month process, but it all worked out in the end, and he did make the appearance, and he couldn't have been better.
Wait a minute. I want you to answer some questions here to the degree that you're comfortable, because if you're saying it's a 5-month process, you do have to understand at this point, in terms of getting Saquon Barkley to do something like that, whatever that costs now, it's probably not what it cost 5 months ago. But my guess is what it would cost now would be like $500,000, $1 million to get Saquon Barkley to give you that time now. What can you give us in terms of details of how hard this was to coordinate over 5 months?
So his agents were great. His mother's great. He's great. But the fact of the matter is that we identified him as a guest many, many moons before he was going to break Eric Dickerson's record, many moons before the Eagles had their run to the Super Bowl. And I did have the mother of the bar mitzvah boy calling me every 5 minutes for 2 weeks in between the NFC Championship and the Super Bowl saying, what are we rooting for here? Is he going to blow us off if he wins? Is he going to blow us off because he's angry if they lose? And, of course, when the Eagles had that big lead at the half, she called and said, and what's your decision? So I did have to speak to the agents after the Super Bowl. And as you'd imagine, there is a rate card difference once you're a Super Bowl champion, but a deal is a deal. And once you sign a deal, that's your deal. And Saquon, again, could not have been a better choice in terms of the way he acted and how great he was. But it's more than an hour. There's travel time to the venue. He doesn't live in New York anymore. So there's travel time to the venue. There's travel time back home. So it's a pretty big commitment from him. And the good news is that he wrapped it around other appearances at much higher rates because he's able to do that in a way that with our deal, we had a contract signed already.
David, forget about his compensation. I hope you got compensated well, because the idea of A, having to deal with someone pestering me for something that I booked, B, to get there and say, okay, I booked the guy, he shows up, we're good, right? Nope, you have all these adults I'm staggered that there are actual grown-ups who would behave in that way in terms of not in terms of
Amin.
No, not in terms of
Worse.
pictures and autographs. Do the hurdle. Are you high? Who asked someone, hey, just jump over so hey, you kind of leap at him and then you jump over him and split your legs. Who asked something like that earnestly? Not as a joke.
What about this one? There were people who asked him for a hug. And I said, as his protector for the time he was there, I played the bad guy, and I said, there will be no hugging. So I started with that. I allowed a few fist bumps.
A great slogan for you in general at life, by the way. Just in general, there will be no hugging.
The name of his memoir.
No, I'm a big hugger, Dan. I love hugging, but there's no reason to have people hug Saquon. So I had a list, Amin, as your answer. We had agreements on how many photos would be taken or how many things would be signed or how long he'd be there. And I had very, very detailed lists that I still have with me that have each photo and each thing that's signed. So it was extremely organized. And at the end of the time, Saquon said he's never had an appearance quite like that one, where he was so well respected and handled in a way that made him realize that, yes, I had run a team before and been around athletes before.
I mean, why are you laughing in David's face?
Because the whole thing that he just gave us there was just to serve the last statement, which is, he'd never been handled like that in an appearance before. He said it was the most professional, most awesome experience of his life.
I mean, he had to be back in the car. The deal was that he'd be back in the car at 7:30 on his way out the door. He was back in the car at 7:29. And to get that done, the rush of people who had to be parted. I mean, he's a major, especially at a bar mitzvah. You're talking, or anywhere, Saquon Barkley is an A-lister when it comes to 13-year-old boys and their parents. And having been a former Giant and having just won the Super Bowl, there was a tremendous amount of activity. And I did not have security hired because I didn't want to pay for that or have anyone pay for that. So instead, I was the security. And the irony is that I counted, you'll be pleased with the fact that my brain was working. There were 12 of the 13-year-old boys who were already taller than I was. And they were awfully aggressive, but yet I somehow was able, even in my blazer, to fend them off Heisman style.
You were lead
that
blocking.
Blazer would fend off anyone, though, to be fair.
That's a great blazer.
You were lead blocking for Saquon Barkley.
I was, actually. And I it's funny because, yes, I am smaller than he is by a lot. And there were bigger people around me, but my voice was strong. And remember, I had incentive to do this, which is I wanted to be protective of him and how great he was and all of the great charitable work, all the cool stuff he does. I didn't want him to have a bad taste in his mouth about bar mitzvahs because there are certain people who don't make those type of appearances.
If need be, David, were you prepared to neutralize any 12 or 13-year-old threats?
Oh, I did neutralize some of them. I absolutely did.
Your pressure point guy, like you go like behind the ear and then they fall to their knees and they pee themselves or something. How do you do it as a security guard?
No, when you're 65 inches, you do everything with your voice. I do nothing physically because that's going to be a losing proposition. So I do it with my voice.
65 inches for now.
Yeah. But he can only go to
forever.
64.
There's going to be very little shrinkage, Billy.
I'm with you.
Can you,
no matter where I swim.
Before we get to the Mavs price hike,
dick joke.
Yes, that's what he threw at the very end. A tiny little joke at the end.
No, not tiny. He told us.
I want to get to the Mavs price hike, but the way that you're saying that Saquon Barkley is going from bar mitzvah to bar mitzvah on a Saturday could
I didn't say bar mitzvah or bar mitzvah.
Or no, event to event or appearance to appearance.
Like appearances, things that he does.
But so what I'm asking you is, can Saquon Barkley make $1 million doing that on a Saturday? Not just at yours, just bouncing around.
It would not be out of the question for Saquon Barkley to be able to make that amount of money. It just would not. Do I think it happens Saturday? I'd have no way to know, but I would doubt it. There's a nice hug with me and Dominique. Although that was more of a dab than a hug, I believe.
Dap.
Damn it. Damn it.
A dab is when you get really high.
Well,
I wanted to be so cool right there.
You're so bad. Well,
I believe that's a dab.
A little dab will do ya.
The words you used during these 20 minutes, ditties, you threw a ditties at us, you threw a croaked at us, which I don't think a lot of people are using for dead anymore. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you use the word croaked to talk about death? Do you have any thoughts on the Mavs raising their ticket prices?
Yeah, I actually wanted to talk to David about this because what the raising of the prices actually is fairly standard, and David can fact check me on that. That's 8.6% across the board. Isn't that egregious? Including, I believe it's a 20% on some of the floor seats. The egregious part about it was, A, it comes on the heels of a lot of bad PR for the team locally. B, the fact that in these letter to these season ticket holders, they said this is for investments in the team and in fan engagement. And C, this is perhaps the most egregious part. They name-checked, hey, if you sign up early, there are strong financial advantages to getting tickets such as the Lakers in April. And that one to me is like that. The first person I actually thought of was David. I said, David, how do you have such a breakdown in communication? Because Nico Harrison is not responsible for any of that. But as a organization, there has to be some sort of unified voice on this. You can't be so tone deaf as to send to your season ticket holders, hey, remember the team we traded your favorite player to? Guess what? If you sign up now for these increased season tickets, you'll get priority on these tickets against that player.
Yeah, it's not uncommon to promote when you are playing against a team that has a former player of yours. It is uncommon to do it at that time. My issue with this, Dan, was the timing. And I can tell you that there has got to be a big mistake that they announced this season ticket price increase. And let me tell you how the math should have worked. If I want to increase my gate revenue, I'm going to increase floor seats because you get a lot more bang for your buck by going from 300 to 400, and then you do by raising tickets, in the upper deck from 20 to 24, and then it looks like you're doing a 20% price increase. You're really always solving to maximize your revenue. And what I told my salespeople after a bad year is, we want to announce no increase, but we are going to increase revenue by increasing certain tickets, but we want to be able to have a PR statement that says, overall, there was no price increase. And we wouldn't then get into specifics about where there were and where there weren't. I never would have allowed an announcement of plus 8.6 after a season of folly that the Mavs have had.
David, is there any universe where if you're looking at revenues and you're saying, look, we need more money, is there any universe where you say, maybe we freeze it for a year and then revisit this a year from now based on the incredible negative reaction that we've gotten over the last month?
So I would have, after what happened with the Mavs, I would have actually announced a decrease. Mm-hmm. I would have found a way to announce the decrease, but having it actual not be a decrease in revenue because of what we did in certain sections, because you're right. And Nico Harrison, he's not blameless here. Did you read his statements? I talked about it on today's Nothing Personal, which is for today. Tomorrow there'll be another one at 8 a.m. live. But today I talked about Nico's statement about Kyrie Irving, comparing Kyrie to Kobe, and what a great person Kyrie is and how important he is to the fabric of the city and how much they love him, and how it was so bizarre to me that I just asked Nico during the show that I did if he could just shut the yapper for a hot second, because I think he's not helping himself at all with all the things he's trying to do. There was no reason to go to the Laker game and have a stare down with Luka. There was just no reason for that. You can go to the game as the opposing GM and not be on TV on the court during practice like that when you know the cameras are on you. So everything he does is purposeful, and I think it's all wrong.
Listen to Nothing Personal every day, where you can hear live David Samson tell Nico to shut his yapper for a hot second.
What was that?
Shut your yapper.
What are you doing?
Shut your yapper for a hot second, Nico.
Are you saying that's another old statement?
We just don't know what you're saying.
A hot second? Like
what
are you
what's
doing?
a hot second? How many? The second is, why is the second hot?
Oh, okay, you guys are picking on him now.
Language is meant for communication, Dan, and I believe the listeners of our show know exactly what I meant, and the listeners of your show do too. And what they're asking themselves now, likely, is why are you even commenting on my use of Yapper and Hot Second when we could be doing a movie review or something else in our remaining time?
David, let me bring you in on something we were discussing earlier. Would you agree that a vow renewal is a stop on the train track to divorce?
Yes. That's a yes.
I've had one. That's what that laugh is.
Whoa. Okay. So listen, renewals in general are for old people who have no other option but to say, hey, we might as well stick it out no matter how miserable we are. I'll start with that. And I'll end with, you don't get a gift. I'm not going to attend. I want no part of a vow renewal of any kind. I think it's absolute horse hockey, personally. People, all right, you're in love. You're still married. What are you, showing off because the rest of us are divorced? Oh, for my 25th anniversary, I'm going to renew my vows in Vegas. Give me a break. I'm totally out on vow renewals. I think it's ridiculous. Maybe grandparents can do it, like The Notebook. Give me James Garner doing a vow renewal, but that's about it.
He is right. It is flaunting. It's kind of like, hey, we're still together.
It's not, though.
Do you guys not like going to parties? Like, hey, if anyone has a vow renewal and
just
you want
have
to
an anniversary. Why do you need to do the vows
as
again?
long as there's an open bar, I'm there. I'll celebrate love. I love love, as everyone knows.
No, but you love booze is what you're saying.
I love
You don't
love.
care about love in that scenario.
I love
You want the open bar.
And well, I love that too, but I love love.
David, would you ever stay at a White Lotus resort?
I would, except they practice usury, and it makes me crazy. I wanted to go where they filmed season 2, and they upped it to like $4,000 a night after it came out. And I said, that's absurd, because I was able to ascertain from a travel agent that it used to be about $1K a night, and they pushed it up to $4K, and I found that to be offensive. So I was a hard pass. But the answer is I would go to a place where White Lotus was filmed because it looks amazing.
Do you have any relationship with Mike White through Survivor, or you haven't met him that way yet?
I have not met him. He is a Survivor player.
And he puts former Survivor cast members in his show.
Yes, he does. It's from his cast, mostly from his tribe, though this season he actually put someone from his season but not his tribe in the series. But yes, he does do that, which is really cool. Mike White, when he was on Survivor, was a great player, and he made it far, really far, and did not win the game. Someone gave me a list recently, because Survivor 50 is coming out, a list of all of the people in sports who made it longer than I did. And one of them was the recently retired Jimmy Johnson, who was also on Survivor, and he did make it further than I did. And frankly, so did John Rocker.
To be clear, it's okay for Saquon Barkley to raise his rates because he won a Super Bowl, but it's not okay for a resort to raise its rates after hundreds of thousands of people, assuming, are now interested in staying there.
Oh, I mean, I think it's brilliant that they raised the rates, because they only raised the rates to the point that people are still booking. If the place is unbooked, then they're going to lower the rates again. I believe that you should raise your prices as far as you can until people stop buying your product. And if it's different people, it's different people. If you price yourself out of certain people, forget it. Maybe the Dallas Mavericks don't care about the 20,000 people that go to games now who are angry, because there's 20,000 new people who love Anthony Davis and love an injured Kyrie Irving, so they're raising their prices. So I'm all in. I just said I wouldn't pay the $4,000 a night to go to that, because I wouldn't. That's all.
Accuse them of usury, which is, I believe, a biblical sin.
Well, I don't know that it's biblical. I mean, I believe it's just definitionally an overcharge. What laugh is that?
It's yours.
Is it?
Oh, it is?
That was us discussing vow renewals.
Oh, that is funny.
That is Billy emerged with a surprise question that made you laugh gutturally like that, and it is the devil's laugh.
That's the devil I know.
I just think that laugh does sound horrible, and it's not my view of love in general, sort of, but it's sort of. That's the sound I think I made right after we got the final vote in the county commission.
That's sinister.
I didn't mean that. I didn't laugh.
You did it again. I thought I hit the button.
That is sinister. That is the laugh of evil. That is absolutely that. Look, if I tell you greed has just gotten a promotion to evil, that's what it sounds like.
Is this not the same program you're using to make your voice sound good on the opera? Is that really the natural sound of the laugh?
The natural sound of evil.
The Skeletor, right?
I think you've done something.
There's zero doctoring to that, David.
No, that's how you react.
Chris, is that the case?
I swear to God.
That's how you
It
react.
really is real.
To renewed vows.
You sound like Skeletor.
That's really a problem.
What's the movie you're reviewing today, David?
I have a real complaint, and I'm upset about this, and I'm not over it. I'm not reviewing a movie. I'm not reviewing the fact that I lost to Adnan in the Oscar ballot. I'm not going to talk about the Oscars. You covered it well. Adnan and I covered it well in the after show recap. I'm talking about a TV show on Max called Bookie. And I don't know if any of you have ever watched it.
Yep.
It's 2 seasons.
Yeah, with
I
Maniscalco.
loved it.
Yeah, me too.
And I was shocked when it got canceled. Now, it's 22 minutes an episode. It's not exactly high budget in the way that White Lotus has changed in season 3 with all of the, I don't know which of you is watching it, but I assume, Jessica, if you're watching it, you've noticed there's way more budget being used in all of these non-dialogue shots of all of these interesting visuals, more so than ever. And Bookie was just good. 22 minutes of good dialogue, good story. It can't be expensive to make unless Sebastian had some sort of contractual requirement, which I don't think he did. So I just don't know why it was canceled. So I'm hoping, Amin, that somebody picks it up.
Yeah,
because that can happen.
I know Omar Dorsey, who plays the other guy in the show.
So good.
And based on the way he was talking, I don't think it's anything cast related in terms of financials or demands. I think this is just, a decision made levels and levels above them.
So is he willing to, have you asked him, is he willing to keep doing it, but under a different studio?
I'll ask him. Sure. I'll send him a message right
Can
now.
you ask him now?
Yeah. Send him a message right now.
Call him?
You want me to ask Sebastian Maniscalco?
Oh, wow.
Let's see who
Checkmate.
answers first. Yeah, let's see
Call
who
him on
answers
speaker.
first.
Yeah,
All
both of you on
contest.
FaceTime.
Yeah, both of you FaceTime and then have them talk to each other
Take off
through
your
your
shirt, though.
phones.
All right. I'm not going to FaceTime him, but how would you like me to word the question?
What's up, big dog?
Are you willing to
question.
do Bookie season 3 with a different studio, or is the show dead forever?
Okay.
You really can just
Some
text
more
him like
reporting
that?
from Dan today. We're blessed.
It's amazing.
Oh, David, yeah, you missed it before. Dan came in and he reported that the Dwyane Wade story that Pat Riley took LeBron James's cookies off the airplane and that's what led to him leaving was not true.
Preposterous.
But Pat Riley does love cookies, and the nutritionist said it wasn't cookies, it was ice cream. But had Pat Riley been on that plane, because
That's
he doesn't
not the
fly on the plane
nutritionist
with
who
them.
said that. Sources.
Sources, okay. But had Pat Riley been on the plane, which he doesn't fly with the team, he would have done it.
I was just going to say, Billy, the number of times that Pat Riley's on the team plane, my guess is you can't get through one hand of fingers, fully fingered, not Alfonseca style.
It's a one way to say
per
that.
season.
I'm going to tap out of texting because I just realized it's been a long time since I texted him.
The first text back.
And if I ask, hey, man, would you be willing to do the show on a different network? That makes it sound
That's-
like
no.
I have a network that might be interested.
I don't
as
think
opposed
anyone
to
thinks
You
it.
know what you
curiosity.
need? If you haven't talked to someone in a long time and you want to get something out of them, you do like a setup. Hey, how's it going, man? Hope all is well. And then tomorrow you ask
No,
them
but
about
that's so
important stuff.
weird. Just, hey, man, how's it going? Hope all is well.
You can do it in one text to me, and you can say, hey, it's been a minute. I'm live on the air right now. Okay. Quick question for you. Would you be interested in doing a season 3 on a different network?
Got it.
So I didn't do any of that. I just did what you guys told me to do, and now Sebastian Maniscalco is going to think Meadowlark Media wants to make season 3 of the Bookie.
Listen, would that surprise you?
I just shouldn't have done that.
Damn.
Well, how'd you start it?
Can I be in it?
Lose the. It's
What's
a lot
up,
cleaner.
dog?
No, big dog. That's where you lost him.
You started with what's up, dog? See you later.
The Bengal speaks. And the ram responds. The Bengal tiger is an apex predator with no natural enemies other than man. It's equipped with incredible strength, combined with sharp claws and massive canine teeth, designed for overpowering and killing its prey that can weigh over 1,000 pounds. It is, in reality, a finely tuned killing machine. The ram, on the other hand, though extremely quick and powerful in its own right, is a vegetarian that does not have to hunt down and kill to survive. Their massive horns are powerful, and they do have the ability to severely injure an animal with a well-placed bow, giving them the opportunity to escape. But for one to be able to overtake a Bengal tiger in a fight to the death would require a small miracle.
Stafford with the ball, with 6 minutes left, down 4 points, with 79 yards to go.
In a face-to-face battle, the best the ram could hope for would be an extremely lucky first blow, done in the form of a massive headbutt that would temporarily stun the Bengal and provide an opportunity for escape.
Touchdown, BJ!
That, however, is unlikely. And the most realistic result would be the Bengal striking its claws into the ram while burying its teeth into its neck and causing a fairly quick death by severing the spine.
T. Higgins is gone for 75 yards.
Then the Bengal would devour the ram. Unless that ram was Cooper.
You and only you can spark a battle cry. The Rams, victory was sealed on strength of your design. Champions. Stafford hangs back, looks off the corner, over the middle, a no-look pass. The fans are up for Cooper. McVay keeps calling his number. The penalty flags rain towards ground. Everyone in the building knows where it's going. Stafford to Cup in the end zone. Oh, the joy and elation of the moment. The polarizing quarterback and the Big Sky Conference product answered the bell. One of the game's historic moments.
Nothing stops the NFL. Nothing stops the NFL. There's nothing like the NFL.
All right, guys, I'm really excited about this. I've just been listening to the Hamilton soundtrack my entire drive over here. A little bit of Another Day of Sun, because Jess and I have been talking about singing that together. Super excited to be part of this.
Hey, Izzy. JT, that's my friend Izzy from ESPN.
Nice to meet you, man.
Hey, guys.
Izzy Gutierrez around the horn. What are you doing here?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, look, I understand I don't really work for you guys, but I heard you guys were doing this, and it really means a lot to me. You know, representation matters. I know that's not necessarily something that really counts in your shipping container or is really accounted for in your shipping container. So once I heard you guys were doing a big gay musical, I had to be a part of it.
Doing what?
The big gay musical. No, I figured I heard about it in Greg Cody's column, or
No, it's the Big Game musical. The Big Game with an M.
Shit. Well, who's going to listen to that?
What a run.
Yeah.
Holy
What
shit.
Holy
All right. Well, I mean, yes.
Oh, my God. Oh, one of the great stories in the history of ESPN. 23 years
That's a
on
good point, Dan.
Thank you. You know, I don't do interviews often, though I love talking. But when family calls, you pick up the phone on a day like today. Dan, this has happened before. This has happened to all of you guys before. But there's a day when you open up Google and your face is on there and you're the top of the news story. Dan, you like saying things that get you in trouble, and that happens from time to time. I'm not somebody that's courting that per se. So there it was, my face looking at me.
Oh,
and
but I hope you are absorbing today, okay? Because there's an outpouring. Around the Horn is finished after 23 years, and Tony Reale did something damn near impossible. From doing sports trivia in sports bars on campuses, he parlayed a community at ESPN that is heartbroken today because a generation grew up on this show. And so it might feel like a sad day in some ways. I hope it does not, but I wish to celebrate you because I can't believe the run, Tony. 23 years, climbing from basically intern to a legitimate sports television personality that could have had his choice of jobs at God Bless America, or I'm sorry, Good Morning America. No, and have arrived, have arrived at 23 years doing this. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I felt every minute of it the last 23 years. I'm a present person, Dan. You know this about me, and I'm an intentional person. You know that about me as well. So I felt it throughout every show. Never felt like work. Still doesn't feel like work. The next 2 months won't feel like work. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy performing. I felt connection to the audience every day for the 23 years. So to see what happened yesterday in the release, or the comments, I mean to say, and I am overwhelmed, of course, 'cause my goal is to respond to everybody. That's a goal of mine. I'll take the next 2 months and respond to everybody, because that's how I feel. You know, that's why I'm in the business, Dan. I know why you got into the business. You're
to bang a drum.
Brilliant, and you're a drummer, much like myself. You take these meetings. I march to the beat of my own drummer, and I am my own drummer because I play the drums. And I thought of Dan doing that. But the whole point is, I got into the business to be with people, to perform. You got because you're an amazing writer and intellectual, and you're going to get to the bottom of stories. I want to feel, And that's what I tried to do on Horn, especially after my first 100 episodes where I was just hanging on for dear life.
Now, Tony, I know you are a very humble person in real life, right? But none of this can be shocking to you, right? You have to know that people love this show, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do. Like I said, I felt every bit of that. I'm not somebody who doing a daily TV show, I mean, and watching every game or covering it, every bit of the research every day, it's like storming Normandy Beach, I mean, every day. I've done 4,000, I mean, we're at 4,905 right now, I think today. And I've done 4,700 of them. And then I did PTI every day, and I was doing double duty every day. I didn't come up for air, and I don't need to come up for air. I mean, my energy is just the same as it was the day I took over the show, and my love for that sort of thing. What I evolved in is how I see my role maybe as host. I was a sports brainiac know-it-all that wanted to demonstrate that and also score the debate like judge, jury, and all that, to somebody who wanted to actually pull at the strings of what's behind the story. I mean, and have the most real moment on TV, if I can say that, it's got my name written right in it, right? Trying to be relatable and unpredictable on TV. That was the goal as I became aware and intentional of how I want to host. But no, of course I always knew that. I mean, I have shared the deepest moments with our viewers, both myself, but they've come right back at me with that. And I'm talking about, I've been in church in Accra, Ghana, and I've had people come up with me. And we're not just talking about LeBron. We're talking about a moment, where I talked about my family, or we're talking about loss of Kobe Bryant, or we're talking about a FaceTime Woody Page had where he talked about suicide. Where that's what the show means to me. The fulfilling part of the show isn't just who you got debates. It's also some of the other stuff we were able to do.
How important was that part of the show to you, showing reporters from around the country giving a point of view that might not be found on the other ESPN shows?
Well, yeah, I mean, I did take over the show a year in. Max was of course terrific at the way he wanted to host the show, and I wanted to do it slightly different. You play up the regions first, right? I mean, that was something we weren't doing on TV in 2002 at the time. You know, we were having so let's lean into the regions, but then at some point. And maybe it's not in vogue to say now. I know we had a great stable of people. It was 4 old white guys for a little while. And that wasn't the type of show I wanted to host. Again, if you want to be diverse in regions, you want to be diverse in all the different type of people we had in the show. That was important to me. That was. So that motivated me and fulfilled me through and then the types of stories we were going to talk about. It wasn't just going to be, the Cowboys every day, even though that would be enjoyable for me in some parts of my personality. So pushing that. Oh, there we go. I just reality.
Reality. This is not very professional. Everything that's happening here. Can you just leave the camera someplace and be good with it, or
he's
no?
holding his phone.
Honestly,
That's
Dan, are you serious? I mean, let me see if I can get a tripod.
I'm just saying. We saw your crotch, and I'm like, I don't think that's what you wanted.
Everybody's got that, Dan. That's what you're
Everyone
getting.
has a crotch. It's true.
Thank you You have to say it. That's your pull quote.
Put it on the poll. Does everyone have a crotch at Le Batard Show?
Also, this is a great because Tony is always very high energy. Since the first day I met him to now. So it shaking like this is like that's how he is. That's what it's like to be in Tony's presence.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you're getting right now. I wanted to make time for you guys because, like I said, Dan, you've been there for me. And throughout many different things, we've been there. We've been through a lot, and your family. And this is the first. I mean, the New York Times wrote an article about me 4 years ago, and I said I don't need to talk again publicly. It was so gushing that I don't need to talk again publicly for a long time. But here I am today.
Well, I thank you for that, and I really do want people to appreciate this as a story and as a human being, because what Reality is saying there, I will tell you, he's as fundamentally decent as anyone in this business. Everyone who comes on his show, the people, the reporters who are scared and nervous, the way that he welcomes them is the way that a family member would welcome you. It's not the way television is. He built something purposely warm, okay, even though that's not the reputation it might have had because it's sports argument television and they were keeping score, but he did build a community, and it's really hard to do there. Like there aren't many shows there that have a community the way that we have a community where you know your fans and it's because they've lived through some stuff with you. It's not just because of the sports stuff. The part I'm confused by, though, Tony, and I don't know what happened here is a business decision. I looked at the ratings. So you were number one in so 18 to 34 key demo, number one, all of television, 5 p.m. You're regularly outrating First Take, regularly outrating NFL Live, regularly outrating Get Up. Like, why is the show not continuing?
Well, I'd be stat boy. I mean, I think First Take's ratings are good in the last couple of years, and they may have beat us on the majority of days. I mean, I don't look at ratings. I'm a guy who's like, if you build it, they will come. I feel very confident. I know that this wasn't that decision. I mean, so this is we're all hired to say goodbye to a show at some point. And I recognize what that is. This is not about that for me. This is about, me knowing that, well, me feeling the audience in the last 24 hours. That's part of it for me. And I mean, I'll say this. We did a story last week. I love Diana Taurasi. I love everything about her. When she's not dressed for game, she's wearing black leather like me. I love that about her too. And she had this incredible line. I thought it was so great, Dan. When she retired, she said, "I'm full and happy." Well, I can still eat. I'm hungry, and I'm happy. And I know everybody who I work with. They can still eat. Everybody can still eat, and there's a lot of food to go around. And that's But I feel hungry, and I know I'm happy. I'm going to be happy, but I also want to. This is why we talked this morning. I'll come on and talk to you because it's important for me to show people that next day when you get the news, that ever you get, you still come up and you still approach the day however you want to approach it. I was sad yesterday, and I can be full in that feeling of sadness and happiness, and I'm still sad today, and I can still be happy in other parts of me, and I can still enjoy talking, about the story we're doing today in the Dodgers when they said Sasaki was dirty and electric and nasty and loud, or whatever the quotes were. And I'm like, that's Black Sabbath, baby, in 1968 when they came out. I'm going to enjoy, giving a Black Sabbath reference today on the show.
Can you explain to the people, though, how unlikely this story is, Tony? Because
yes, absolutely.
I don't know if my recollection will be a romantic one or not, but Max Kellerman was having a dispute over what was his show that would then become IMAX, and there wasn't a plan for replacing him, and so they went and got you, who was interning at, pardon the interruption, down the hallway. Tell me what I've got wrong here. And,
okay, yeah. And not the stat boy again. So, I mean, how I got PTI is absurd. I was a researcher, which is a fundamental part of the show. I say for all researchers, and I love researchers because, we're doing lifting. And I got hired to do stat boy on PTI, or, moved into that position that they just created a week before PTI launched because of the way I was operating with Tony and Mike and Eric and Matt and that type of energy. But the horn hosting, to be a host of an international television show at age 25, I may have filled in at 24. I got a phone call on a Sunday night. It was the Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Panthers. It was the halftime of Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. And I got a call saying, tomorrow we don't have a host. Max is in contract negotiation. It might not go this way. It might go that way. Can you fill in tomorrow? So that's really when I took over the show, was the day after Patriots beating the Panthers in the Super Bowl and wardrobe malfunction. One of the biggest stories we did, for weeks after that. That's my first show. At that point, I'm young. I'm very green. I'm wearing the only suit I have. And I'm sweating through it, and I don't know how to host a TV show. I had done sports calling in college, and I had done game calling. I love play-by-play, for Fordham University. This was a dream of mine to host a show like this. This was a dream of mine to work in this capacity, but it came overnight, and I filled in one day, and I filled in the second day, and I had to put on my second tie. And by Wednesday, I was out of clothes, and I hosted the show as best as I could on a day-to-day contract, I think, if I remember correctly, for months. I know ESPN, maybe considered other hosts. I know they brought in a dream job contestant, Zachariah Selwyn, for a while. I know maybe. I never understood why they weren't bringing in Scott, Rich Eisen at the time, or Linda Cohen or somebody, because I believed in the show. But that's how I got the job. I got a phone call the night before my first real day hosting, the day of the Super Bowl.
Was there any plan? There wasn't really a plan, right? You just had to keep your head down. As I recall, you weren't being paid. Right. There wasn't negotiations.
Well, no, I'm sure I was being paid. I was definitely being paid a day rate, and I think I was sure as happy. And I knew I wanted to stay on PTI. But Eric's ride home said the best advice I heard at that moment was keep your head down and just focus on horn. So I think I took a couple of weeks off PTI, and I just did horn for a while, and I learned how to kind of host the show in the way the show was written and constructed at that moment. But my next year or two, while I was, working to try to get a long-term contract, and it took probably a year, I would say, respectfully for everybody, I was slowly trying to evolve what the role of the host was, because I didn't want to host a show that I was judge, jury, and executioner in maybe the way it was initially, I think the host was supposed to have the final opinion, and I didn't want to really do that. So I wanted to kind of put the panelists in position to prove why their opinions are right, and then have some fun with the play of the show. And then, of course, we evolved in any number of ways over 22 years with both our crew of people. And I mean, I know you're talking to me right now, but we have to talk about, Woody Page and Bob Ryan and Bill Plaschke and Kevin Blackistone and Tim Kalishaw, who did so much of the heavy lifting, Jay Adonde all those years, and do all the heavy lifting every day. And of course, what we become, which I'm most proud of. I'm most proud of the heart this show had, but that we introduced to the entire community in some ways. Mina Kimes, who I met many times, saying, "There's a place for you on TV," and we got to a place where she was comfortable.
Nah,
and
we kinda, that was Mina's ours.
Yeah, I know.
We did Mina. That was
And
us.
Monica McNutt and Pablo Torre.
Sarah
and
Spain
Bomani
was
Jones.
ours. Pablo Torre
At what point does
Sarah
Mina get to
Spain.
claim her
I
own
mean,
success?
I had real moments where I was tracking video of Bomani doing radio out of, maybe it was Toronto, the score, while he was doing that of North Carolina. Or Sarah Spain. I mean, I
She's
knew.
ours too.
The first time I saw Sarah, I mean, it was her third show, and I was thinking, I need to get her on a big ticket debate show we were doing on live, because she was such a force of nature. And it goes on and on.
You
I
can
mean,
keep Sarah, by the way.
you can tell me anything you want. I know we had, and our panelists have been incredibly gracious. I'm talking about specifically Woody and Bob and Bill and Jackie and Tim and Bill. As we expanded, that meant one fewer show a week, 2 fewer shows a week for those incredible Hall of Famers. So not only is that 25, now 30, now 35-year-old kid muting them on international TV, but also a new generation is coming in and taking a show away from them, 2 shows away from them. And the show evolved to a place where it became not the same people every day, you know?
So, Tony, you named a bunch of amazing journalists, amazing people, amazing. And it'd be unfair for me to ask you who was the best panelist. So I'm going to do the opposite and ask you, who was the worst panelist and why was it Stugotz?
I would certainly not answer that question in any way.
It's got to be Stugotz. Look at him.
Stugotz for
Look
sure.
at him.
Yes, of course. I will give Stugotz credit that he walked into a show that wanted to score him minus 500, and I couldn't. He just made me laugh so much that he had to get some ding-ding-dings. But I will also say only one person has played a mononucleosis spleen on Halloween, and that was Stugotz when he was Sam Darnold's spleen, I believe, or Zach. Who had the injured spleen for the New York quarterback?
It was Darnold.
Yeah.
Can you tell people, because I don't know how you're going to be comfortable discussing this part, given that you like, you're a decent person and you're really happy with the success you have. So I haven't seen vanity. I've seen from you, ego, not stuff that would be ugly. But you're responsible with a handful of people for not only changing ESPN, but changing sports television discourse. Really, you're in the center of that. So how do you regard your legacy there?
Oh, Dan. I mean, we're gonna have to. What are we doing? I'll come down for a week and hang out with you guys, and we'll do.
Yes, please.
We'll do a full session so we can unpack. How do I? I mean, what do you?
Well, but Tony, you should be proud of yourself.
I am proud of myself.
You should be today. You should be proud of yourself. You at ESPN were somebody who changed the way we were doing things.
Yes, I feel that too. I absolutely feel that, and I know our viewers feel that too, and I can talk about that. I can tell you how I processed it yesterday. I think I was listening to On the Wings of Love radio when I walked out of the meeting I went to, because I wanted to listen to some of that, or maybe I heard the Sabrina Carpenter song. Heartache is one thing, my ego's another. I mean, I'm going through. Like I told you, I'm going to come on with you today because you're family, and I'm going to open up to you. However, I mean, when I come, let's do this. I'll come for a week. I want Jeremy to get out some keys or some drums. I want Cody's voice ready. We'll make some music. All right. I want to do that. You got me on that.
You got it.
All right. Of course. Me and Pablo got it. We're going to chop it up too.
Well, we have somebody here who wants to talk to you, and Jeremy does as well. We'll get to Jeremy in a second, but let's go to the set of Around the Horn right now, where Izzy Gutierrez joins us now with whatever Izzy's thoughts are on Around the Horn officially being announced.
I was waiting.
Over after 23 years. Good job, video.
It's almost as if, you didn't know you had somebody who was on the show over the course of, what just happened?
Matrix.
Over the course of 16 years. But no, I'm not talking to Tony. I can talk to Tony whenever I want to. Tony asked me for permission to come on the show today. Okay, I'm talking to Amin here because Amin asked who the worst panelists of all time were. I'm going to go back and tell you who the best panelist of all time was. Only one panelist took a Halloween Obama impression and decided to use it throughout the show, setting the tone for future Halloween episodes forever. Only one panelist spent 7 hours doing fake tattoos on my body, becoming Conor McGregor, and doing an Irish accent that I'd only practiced on the drive over there, okay? All of this was accomplished because I did it, and I was on that show. And outside of the old heads, outside of the Kalashaws, the Platchkeys, the Woody Pages, wins leader. This guy over here, more than Pablo Torre.
Yeah, it's all true. And I was waiting for Israel to pop in because I didn't mention his name specifically.
Well, Monty Jones would like a word on who's the best panelist in the history of the show.
Yeah, where was he?
Israel, you asked me, who my favorite panelist is, and I do this bit where, I say it's whoever I'm talking to at the moment, or what was my favorite mute, the next mute. This was my favorite mute. Israel's very important to me.
I believe you said that it's Jackie McMullen. I believe.
Yeah, I said that last week because I was with her. Yeah. Me and Israel grew up. See, now I'm getting emotional, and I'm 100% happy with this. And again, I wanted to show people, we're riding waves here. We're all every day in TV and the jobs you have at home that aren't in this industry and just in life. You're riding waves. You're surfing. You're gonna get knocked over by waves, and you get up, of course. And I'm gonna be on TV today, and I'll be smiling, and you'll know I feel happy, and I also feel sad. But I think of Israel as somebody. We opened each other up in a lot of ways as the humans that we became, and the adults and the men that we became, because we were on TV at very young ages, And Israel, you sent me an email once, 10 years ago, and it changed your life. But it changed my life too, and you need to know that, And it changed how I thought about how I wanted to be publicly out in the world, Because there was yet another reminder how what we do. I don't need reminders, but I got one there. We have a chance to be public in showing people how to treat other people, how to feel, how to emote. Who watches ESPN around the horn? What's our slogan? To meet people anywhere. But who watch? Young people watch. What is a safe space for young people to emote? Sports. You're not, maybe some young men or young women didn't feel like they're allowed to show emotion in their younger lives. Oh, don't cry, don't scream. I cried about the Yankees until I was 20, probably, if I was being honest. It's a safe space to show emotion. And then now you could apply that safe space that sports gives you. Well, let's extend it now. You can show emotion and you show your full self in more real ways. And that became, something that I wanted to do.
I'll just say this real quick, Tony. I was just in Colorado recently, and somebody said, "Hey," recognized me and said, "Hey, I grew up on that. I grew up on that show, and thank you for doing that." Yeah. And it just made me realize that I grew up on the show. I grew up because of you and because of everybody else. And we're gonna miss out on that. There's a lot of people that even at our age who still watch the show religiously and are gonna miss what you sort of created and sort of bonding everybody together there. So we're definitely gonna miss
but
you,
the word grow works another way too, Israel, right? I mean, things end because they have to end, but they end because you have to grow elsewhere, right? I mean, you have to, in order to grow, you have to move from that space. I believe that. I mean, that's, I will tell you this. I've told you this, Israel, Dan. I've told everybody. I love doing the show. It didn't feel like work. I could have said goodbye, but years ago they could have said goodbye to the show whenever they wanted. I understood that. I kept on doing it because I value, what I was doing. And I was discerning, I could have added the podcast or the game show that I dreamt about, or the Anthony Bourdain style show for sports that I dream about, or American Ninja Warrior, or the Red Zone, or all these amazing shows that I watch when I'm not watching PTI or you guys, the shows that I watch with my kids. I want to do those things. But I also committed to doing this show, and I was happy. I don't have any regrets about that I didn't add the second or third or fourth show on. I liked hosting the show, but I liked writing the show. And I liked putting together the show with Aaron Solomon and Josh Bard and Caroline Willett and Jeff Weiner and Tierney Corrigan. That's it. I just named the entire editorial team of Around the Horn, a show that does an episode every day for 23 years. It's 5 people, you know?
If we uncancel the show, can we get you a tripod for that phone, please?
Guys,
seriously,
you're gonna get me for a full week in Miami. You guys can be Scorsese. We can cinematically shoot it any way you want. I just dropped off 3 kids at school. I only did 2. Sorry, my wife dropped off, but I also dropped off Antonella. I just walked through the streets here. It's 46 degrees, and you got me here. I got to right around the horn. I got to go to, this is my busy season. Today's Ash Wednesday, right? So now you just got me on camera without an Ash.
Oh, no.
On Ash Wednesday.
Oh, no, that's a first.
That's
a first.
That's a first. I've talked about that publicly too, but that's, something I always wanted to be. Exactly. I'm trying to give a 1-to-1 ratio. I don't advise that for everybody in the industry. There's certainly a place for people to dress up any way they like or perform any way they want. I'm a goofball. I'll dress up with anybody. But in the role of that show, if Woody Page is being amazing at being the crazy uncle, I want it to be like authentic. That's a bad word because everybody uses that, but I want it to be 1-to-1 me, and maybe I'll be a person who dresses up when I'm in Miami next month, in 2 months from now.
This segment is presented by LinkedIn Jobs. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/DLS.
Yes,
Terms
it
and
is.
conditions apply.
Can I do that? That sounds like a great opportunity right now.
Earnestly, I want to say I grew up on the show and have been a huge
Thanks,
fan. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to work in sports was because I watched this in PTI.
We met once
every
in the
single day.
street.
We
I
did.
remember this.
And that was when I was like 4 or 5 years ago. I think it was maybe right after I started working here. And I remember thinking like, oh my God, that was the coolest thing ever. That Tony Reale knew who I was just walking down the street in the Seaport. But earnestly, thank you. It's been incredible to watch, and I'm really grateful that the show existed when I was growing up, becoming a sports fan and then working in sports media. But on a less earnest note, Stugotz's spleen costume, one of the laziest costumes that I've ever seen. We have a picture of it here. He's just wearing like a red sheet over his head.
What is that? What is that?
Yeah,
he's an emergency substitute.
Oh, look at this, though. Come on, Sarah Spain. Come on. Look at that. Look at Clinton and Tim. That you take that screen grab and that works, and then Logan Roy. Oh yeah.
Woody
that was a great.
Roy is the number one.
So who knows what his spleen looks like, but that he would. And I think his first words that show were, "Let me spleen something to you, Tony." That's true.
Tony.
I want to thank Tony too for this move at the end of every show when he throws the paper at the.
Oh, yes, that's a good one, Chris.
Oh, the best. I do it every time I'm around a camera, I throw a paper at it.
Yeah. I'm proud of my 4% success rate, my hit rate, 4%. I hit one behind the back. It's somewhere a GIF on Twitter. So I'm proud of that too.
Yo, chicken time.
I've never seen you do that.
I'm telling you, I do it anytime I'm around.
Wasting papers.
We'll see you in 23 and a half hours.
What about the trees?
Yeah. So I think it won't be an infinity and a half hour break for me, but I hope. This is. Let me come down and see you
We're
guys.
going to do this. We're going to do this. We've been
Well,
talking.
there it is.
He's going to come down for a week. We're going to enjoy the holy hell out of celebrating a majestic career. When we're talking about Ash Wednesday, how many consecutive Ash Wednesdays have you?
That would be all of them.
All
that
of
would
them.
be all of them.
Since you started. Since you started, your first year.
Yeah, I wore an Ash on PTI when I was Stat Boy. I'm sure of it. So, I've always, of course, been that person. I go to church on Sundays.
What are you giving up for Lent? You got to start now.
I'm a spiritual person, and I believe. So that's part
Giving
of it.
up
So
He's
caffeine,
giving up
maybe?
around the horn for Lent. He's giving up.
Oh, that's a good line. I think someone else has given up, but yeah, I would say,
That's Pataros.
No, I mean, I think we'll get to that week in Miami and let's do something really fun.
Sorry about that, Tony. We muted Dan.
Tony, let me ask you something. So I was walking in today, and I'm a Catholic, so Ash Wednesday is a thing for me. And there seem to be people doing drive-by ashes, like on the corner. And I was wondering, like, can I do drive-by ashes? Because I'm trying to figure out, like, there's like a mass at 7, but my daughters go to bed at that time.
I support it.
Should I like indulge in drive-by ashes, or am I cheating because I'm not really doing the whole thing? Like, how does this work in your books? I don't know why I'm asking you, like you're like a bishop or something. But Cardinal Reale, what should I do?
Well, I'm not Cardinal Pizza Bola. Who is we've learned about. Have you guys done this bit? I'm sorry if I missed it. Pierre Battista Pizzabola?
No, but we need to talk about. He's apparently in the running to be the next pope.
Unbelievable. All-time greatest name, Pierre Battista Pizzabola.
Actual
I get in trouble. I get in trouble with a couple of my communities, The Italian community wasn't happy with me when I spoke some things about Columbus. And my own church isn't happy sometimes when I've talked about how I if you're getting an ash, you're doing it right. If it's a drive-by and you have what I will broadly call the primacy of conscience, if I can speak in a catechismic way for a second.
Yeah, but I get to save time too. It saves me
I believe in the primacy of conscience. If you believe in your heart that this is the way that you and you will continue to pay it forward in the spiritual way. That's the way. Yeah, it saves time too. Yeah, timing. Yeah.
I don't think I got to be honest. I don't think any of that is on the up and up. I don't think you can.
There's a church here. They were just standing on the corner doing ashes for anyone that wanted.
All right, put it.
But then I'm wondering, like, do I need to make a donation and then like, do I Venmo a church? Like, how does that work? You know?
Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Does God allow His sacraments on street corners at Le Batard Show? I just think that you're doing it very hastily if you're not properly honoring God by treating it as a drive-through Ash Wednesday situation.
I believe in any prayer, as hasty as it could be, still counts as a prayer. The boom, boom, boom sign of the cross, pump it. I mean, if you're doing it and it takes a second, that's fine. That's a good second you spent.
To get earnest one more time with you, Tony.
Can we just be honest?
Just one last time here. Just like Jessica, like I grew up watching this show. The first time I ever thought about, hey, sports TV seems like it would be something fun, is when I was like 10 years old and my mom turned to me and said, "Who's that guy? You should try to do that." And it was you watching Around the Horn. And I watched religiously all the time. Our power just
lights
went
out, Guerrilla Radio. There we go.
Oh, my God. That was amazing.
So you're worried about my camera angle, and now you guys can't keep the lights on.
Yeah, we're being assaulted by light. It literally looks like the heavens are projecting on us right now. But
that was to show you that, one sign of the cross and one ash, walk away was enough.
Or God was like, don't do the drive-by ashes.
Yeah, clearly.
We're still on the air.
I believe I've blasphemed, and that is my comeuppance for threatening God with my blasphemy.
Man, that was terrifying. But all that said, Tony, like...
Even God was like, enough, Jeremy.
All right. Fair enough. I was just going to say, you know what? I'm going to power through. Nonetheless... Tony, you were an inspiration to so many different people, including myself, and I was lucky enough to intern with your show and learn so much from the way that you treated people on the staff. It created an environment that I wanted to continue to be a part of. It's why I aspired to be a part of a show like this, because I knew that Dan had learned so much from the offices that you were a part of in D.C. And learning from all of the folks who you mentioned before, and Josh and Jeff and interning with Caroline. These are amazing people who do amazing work. Thank you so much for being an inspiration for me, and I know so many
Thank you for saying that. Of
people.
Course, that's on you. You did it all. I remember when your intern application came in. I remember that moment. Wow. Did we make a video congratulating you?
You did. You made a video.
That's one of my favorite things we always did.
It was the best thing in the world. You guys, it was a buy and sell on every intern, and they would do buy or sell.
I'll tell you what I need to go to confession for, okay? Is that only time I get
Billy,
in
how
trouble.
No, this become about Jeremy?
I waited 32 minutes to do this.
Yeah. Wait. So I'm going to say is what I get in trouble with at ESPN was giving tours to people on the street who would just recognize me, and I'd say, come up and see the show. And this is where I get in trouble because we didn't go through security, and I recognize what that is. But, and making videos, you know, I would say yes. I would make videos for bar mitzvahs and brisses, which, you know, a bar mitzvah video is great because you get to sign off with saying, I hope this one goes better than bris, you know? I love that bit. And hockey teams winning, and I want to just give all that to people, you know? But when an intern joins us and we get to send them a video and an email telling them they got the job, that's my favorite thing. I love that one.
It's one of the most special moments I'll ever experience.
You still have the video?
I do. I still have it. I can find it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, if you can find it. I mean, I'm sure it's not, you know, going into the Broadcasting Hall of Fame.
I don't think Jeremy has the video. I don't think he can find it. I at the very least have an edited video. Should I be a chicken if I'm defending myself? I have it. It was 2016. It's not that long.
And we thought Adrian Brody was
I'm really, really young.
You're not allowed to talk as one of the chickens.
I wasn't sure if I could do it or not.
You're not allowed to. What are you doing? Tony, good seeing you. And really, honestly, one of the great stories in the history of ESPN, one of the longest runs in show history, and better as a human being than he was as a TV host, and he's been one of the best in the history of ESPN. Tony, thank you so much, buddy.
Tony.
We'll see you in a few weeks.
See you in a little bit. Thank you, guys. I love you all. All right. Bye now.
Thank you.